So you said to begin with, you weren't a good teammate.
No,
and okay,
I don't believe so.
Okay, so what were you like when you weren't a good teammate?
I think because it was too much about me. And I was thinking, well, how can I go win the game versus how can I be a better teammate and believe and uplift and encourage others, even when I may be frustrated because they're not paying attention,
right?
Or they're doing something else. But if I really want to give our team the best chance to win, then I need to build them up, not tear them down.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to be able to encourage them. I need to try to put myself in their shoes. I need to try to understand. I need to find a way to actually pull us together versus just try a little bit harder.
Yeah, right. Okay, and did you learn that?
I think I learned it, but I think just when you learn something doesn't mean you do it well. And so it's constantly trying to practice that.
Yeah, well, it's a very difficult thing to get right.
And grow and improve. And then still sometimes I feel like I would take steps back in it. And as I grew up in playing so many different sports and leagues and championships and everything, that there were, I think, highs and lows that came with that. Because then when I got to play on other teams when I was young, and we would compete for championships, like national championships in baseball and in football and some very competitive teams in basketball as well. And so then everybody was all in. It was win at all costs type, even from a very young age.
How old were you when you started the team sports?
5.
Okay. So you're in there very early. And how many different sports?
3, baseball, basketball, football.
And were you equally good at all 3?
When I was young, probably. And then as I grew, probably got slightly better in football and baseball than in basketball.
Okay. And so you're in a highly competitive environment. When do you start to emerge as a team leader rather than as an individual star?
I think still at a pretty young age, but that's not because you're a good leader. It's just because as a better player or a competent player, people would look to you.
Right.
And so I think at an early age, but I still don't believe that I led in a really good way many times.
But you said that skill developed across time. What had to change about how you were interacting with your teammates to make you a better team player? How did that skill develop? And what role did your parents play, or your coaches for that matter, or your own reflections?
They played such a pivotal role in it. Conversations with my mom and my dad about it, trying to learn from failure, talking through it afterwards with my dad, talking through it with my mom, trying to be patient, trying to be understanding.
Right, so they're paying attention to how you're doing on the field, and they're watching you, and they're listening to you afterwards, and you're strategizing together.
Yes, and I would say one of the most special things is the whole time they're always reminding me, but it's not the end of the world. It's not everything.
Yeah.
And there was always that balance that, to me, sometimes where I would fail, where I still fail, is when it becomes everything.
Yeah.
It's not, then it's not in its proper place.
Yeah. Well, it's also a hard thing to get right, though, too, because you want to win. And so that means losing matters. But then the thing about losing.
But what do you want to win at most in life?
Well, I would say one of the things you want to win at is you want to win at learning how to lose so that you don't stop, right? I mean, the other real advantage to competitive sports is losing, because you lose, say, roughly half the time. Okay, and you might say, well, why do you need the experience of losing? Why can't everybody just win all the time? And the first answer to that is, you don't win all the time in life.
That's right.
Like, you're going to get set back a lot. And so one of the things you have to learn, maybe the most important thing possibly, is how to be resilient and grateful and upward striving in the face of failure.
Yeah.
Right? And so
how to deal with it.
And at the most that's why the competition should be heightened too, because you want to learn how to lose gracefully and in a resilient manner when the stakes are super high.
Yeah.
Right, because then you're tough. And so that's a great victory.
And it's one of your greatest motivators. Those scars from losses are also some of the things that motivate you the most. When I look back on my career, especially in college, like, it's hard for me. So for example, we had 12 rivalry games in my 4 years at Florida. We went 11-1. I think about that one.
Define a rivalry game.
So 3 biggest rivalries for us is Florida versus Georgia, Florida versus Tennessee, and Florida versus another team in the state, Florida State. I hate even saying their name.
Right, so these are high stakes games on a reputational level.
Oh, yes.
And your fans have a lot at stake.
Yes. And we went 11-1 in those games. And I think about the 1 more than I think about the 11 combined. And because it makes a mark, and it gave such a weight to me. I was so hurt and sad, not just for me, but for my family and for my team and for my teammates' family, because it mattered that much. And I think that scar can either cripple you or propel you. It can cripple you by just sitting and saying, what a terrible loss, or it can propel you to say, I never want to go through this again. What I'm representing, who I get to represent, my teammates, my care for them, my coaches, my family, all of it. I never want to go through this again. So now I'm going to double down on my work.
Right,
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it again, because I don't want to go through this again. I don't want my teammates to go through this again. I don't want my family to look at me like that again with the sadness on their eyes, because they know that I'm hurting. Like all of that, it can propel you if you let it, if you use it as fuel. And one of the things I like to encourage young people is you either win or you learn. You win or you learn.
Yeah.
And
so this is in the story of Cain and Abel. So Cain makes sacrifices to God and they're rejected. And he gets angry in consequence. And he goes to God to complain about the structure of the world. And God says to him, you've got nothing to complain about. If you did well, you'd be accepted. And you think that you're bitter because you lost, but you're bitter because you lost and you invited the spirit of resentment and bitterness to inhabit your heart. That's why. You didn't learn. You didn't rectify your behavior. You didn't change in the face of your loss. You decided you get bitter.
Yeah.
Exactly, and improve. Now, you did that famous speech. I presume that was in the aftermath of one of these rivalry.
It wasn't a rivalry game, but it wasn't a rivalry. No, but it was a shocking loss. That was my junior year at the University of Florida, and we lost to Ole Miss, a team that so much respect for them, but we just shouldn't have lost to them.
But I promise you one thing, a lot of good will come out of this. You have never seen any player in the entire country play as hard as I will play the rest of the season, and you never see someone push the rest of the team as hard as I will push everybody the rest of the season, and you never see a team play harder than we will the rest of this season. God bless.
After the game, I felt such shame and disappointment, not because we lost the game, Dr. Peterson, but because I knew it was my fault. It was my fault as a leader. It was my fault as a captain. It was my fault in the way I played, in the focus.
What do you think you did wrong? Or what did you think you did wrong?
I think that, we throw around phrases like you're all in, or being locked in, or focus, or all these things. And I think that there was a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, that I thought today we could just go through the motions a little bit.
Oh yes, you had a little bit of contempt for your opponents.
Rather than being all in. And the whole time we thought, we'll still win. We'll still win. We were behind, and we come from behind, and we're down a touchdown, but it's like, it's okay, we're still good. And we drive down the field, we score a touchdown, and then supposed to kick the extra point and tie the game. They block the extra point. But then our defense goes out there and does an unbelievable job, gets a 3 and out, we get the ball back, and we have a chance to score and win the game. And it's a 4th and 1, and we call 96 Q Mickey, which is a Q power play. It's I carry the ball, it's downhill running, and very few times, it would be like our identity play. Very few times that I can remember. I'm sure there's some times we got stopped on it, but very few in 4 years, very few. If there was one play you said, we are getting this. I'm running behind some of our best offensive linemen, the Pounceys and some amazing guys, and I'm running right behind them, and we're like, we get this. This is what we do.
Right.
Like, this is what we train for. and I get stopped and we lose. And just the disappointment, the shame. And it's not just because we lose, it's how we lost.
Right.
And knowing that I should have done something different. I could have done something different. I just wasn't as focused or willing to as I should have been.
Right. So is that a pride error? Is that because you said that
I think it's a pride. I think it's a lackadaisical. I think it's a taking it for granted. And after the game, I'm sitting in the locker for a while, probably over an hour, and I have to go do the press conference, talk to the media, and I just don't know what to say. I know that what I did was wrong. Just really believe that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I watched the speech, and you lay out the diagnosis, which is like a form of confession, and then you describe your faults, which is the extension of the confession, and then you proclaim your conviction that you will make better sacrifices and do better in the future. And obviously that struck a chord with people, but I think the reason for that is that it ties with many of the things that we've discussed. I mean, one of the things you just pointed out that's crucially important is that you can take these negative emotions that are associated with loss that could be crushing and that are viewed by people who are anti-competitive as necessarily crushing. You can take shame and guilt and disappointment and fear even, and you can transmute those into motivational forces that can make you work harder in the future.